This is dedicated to all my beautiful queens, all my beautiful ladies out there. She's a queen. Go queen. You got it, girl. She's a queen. You better represent. Go queen. Go queen. Go. She's a queen about her business. Queen. Working hard on a mission. Yeah. Head high, purpose driven. Purpose driven. Crown on never tilted. Go queen, go queen, go queen, go. Represent, you're a queen, oh.
The incomparable Margaret Avery. Many of us know her from her iconic role as Shug Avery in the Steven Spielberg adaptation of Alice Walker's novel, The Color Purple. Her career spans over 4 decades. Miss Avery has paved the way for so many young actresses today. Let's give her flowers and learn more. Thank you guys for joining another episode of the Q Chat. I'm back from COVID and I'm so excited. This is such a special episode. I have an icon that we'll be chatting with, the beautiful Miss Margaret Avery. We all know her from her iconic role from the classic The Color Purple as Shug Avery. She's an executive producer and an actress, and she's done so much. So I'm just like really excited. So guys, this is Miss Margaret Avery. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm feeling mighty blessed, mighty blessed. This has been a last 3 weeks. My generation has lost quite a few icons. So it makes you appreciate every day. Every day is a precious present.
Oh, yes, definitely. And you're right. We are losing so many icons, especially over the past few weeks. So, it's just, I just feel like it reminds us to give flowers while we can for people who are here. So speaking of giving flowers, I do have to start off I'm going to ask you about a lot of things, but I do have to start off just about The Color Purple. And, I know like that is the role that I'm sure people of my generation, I can't speak for the newer generations, but it's just such an amazing thing for people of my generation. The Color Purple was such a huge, iconic film. Obviously, previously the book and your role as Shug Avery. At the time when you guys were a part of that project, did anyone have any feeling of, just like I said, it's a classic for our culture. Like at the time when you guys were making it, did you guys have any type of inkling, especially yourself with that character? Did you just have any type of feeling of, this is going to be something that can potentially change my life and something that people will never forget?
Well, we knew it was a special project. And I think our most concern, all the actors, was to make Alice Walker pleased. I mean, we just wanted to please her. And it seemed as though anytime she was on the set, and she was a few times, it seemed like it was the day that I was shooting. I'd say, oh my God, please. And after each shot, I'd kind of like look over at her to see if I could figure out if she liked it or not. But we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do our personal best. Just like athletes, you train and you hope when you get that race, you're just pumping and trying to do your personal best. It was our everyone's first film, really. Like Steven Spielberg, it was his first dramatic film to direct. It was my first A film, you might say, that the world would see. Whoopi's first film of her 3-picture deal, Oprah's first film. So we all had a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. And of course, we're all happy with the results.
Yes, it is an iconic film, and we will never forget Shug Avery. After that movie was released, and of course it was a hit, it was a positive thing. And did you feel any pressure afterwards, to follow up such an iconic role?
Well, I think right afterwards, that's when we started that when people saw the film, I didn't expect the backlash that we got from our people, people of color, but I understand it now. It was the first Black film done in 8 years. It followed Sounder with the lovely Cicely Tyson and beautiful Paul Winfield, and that was a very uplifting film of family love, and you could see the strong husband and father image that we all universally love. But Color Purple was a little different, and most people had not read Alice Walker's book to realize this is a fictional book. So when Color Purple came out, and poor little Mister is just this horrible man, and Harpo, he was weak, without any other images of men of color. It was pretty much, I would say that you would think, hey, this ain't us. We were expected to represent us, and we didn't. But as I said, I understand it, because when I had the opportunity to tour the film in Europe, there were people who said, gee, are Black men really like that? So that's, a big criticism that I could understand, and I can't reiterate. And there was criticism about, why did Steven Spielberg, a white man, direct the film? Well, what people don't realize is that when Quincy Jones, who was the producer, shopped the film around the studios, nobody wanted to direct that film. And Steven Spielberg was the only director who had the power to greenlight a film. He's the only one who decided to do it. He wanted to do it. We didn't have Spike Lee and John Singleton and all the wonderful women of color that are directing now. So we were lucky to even get the film done. Now, the gay people, they bashed the film because we didn't have enough of that gay relationship between the characters Shug and Celie. Yeah. But Spielberg, the studios had asked him, can you make the film make money? And he said, well, I don't know if I can make it make money, but I can probably make it break even. Well, it did make a lot of money. But the reason he didn't want to explore that relationship, remember this 35 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't want it to get stuck, the film to get stuck in just the artsy theaters and it not get seen by the most of the population. Yeah. So there were a lot of decisions that had to be made for the good of the film to get done.
Right. Speaking of, because you're correct, right? 35 years ago, it was definitely a different,
Yeah, you got same-sex kissing all in the film on screen now, and doing even more than that. Lord, that was not, no. If you notice in Color Purple, if there was anything to happen sexually between the two characters, Shug and Celie, the camera makes you suggest that, but it fades and goes to a shot of the window. So, and if you look at all those black and white 30s and 40s films, that's what they did. If anybody was getting sexual, you never filmed that. And now, even on primetime television,
years ago, they had to make implications. They couldn't touch all the topics, especially with the same-sex relationship. But now, of course, The Color Purple is being adapted in different forms. There's the film that's going to be remade. And also Color Purple has made it to Broadway. Because I remember when I've seen the film, and a few years ago, it came to the state that I'm living in at the theater. And obviously the theater was able to be more authentic to that relationship in the book. Have you had a chance to see the new adaptations on Broadway?
I've seen all three performances on Broadway. And of course, the first adaptation that I saw was with Fantasia. And I'm so happy that she's doing the film because she did a fabulous job as Celie. And you know that Taraji, she's doing my character, Shug Avery. So I know they have kicked it out of the bucket. The film is in the can now. So being edited, and it's a musical, so that's going to be interesting. And I think Taraji is going to be doing some singing, so that'll be fabulous. I'm very anxious to talk to her about how she was cast and what she felt about performing. That's hopefully we can do some interviews together. But as far as the adaptation goes, all three productions were kind of different because we had different casting. So, but I was just happy for little old Alice Walker. She created a monster. She has given so many people, talented people, work. And it's a beautiful film, and it's a classic, and it's going to be shown for years, generations. Back to that backlash, we were nominated for, I think it was like 13 nominations, and it wasn't just Black men who criticized the film, but there was Steven Spielberg. Out of all the nominations, he didn't get nominated. Now, that I still don't understand that backlash, but I do know that a lot of those older directors who made the studios a lot of money were quite jealous and angry that Warner Brothers gave him. Was it Warner Brothers? No, Universal Studios gave Steven Spielberg his studio. His own studio is on the Universal lot, Amblin Productions. And so I even felt the backlash after Color Purple. Wow. Because for number one, I had to do TV because you didn't have white actors having women of color as their leading lady. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the white actresses didn't want to use me. I found out a couple of years later that there were a couple of good roles that I missed out on because the lead actress felt I was too strong or too pretty or something, So 2 years went by that I didn't work. And when I did try to get work in television, the directors were taking their anger out on Spielberg on me. It was like displaced anger. So it was a difficult time. And I'm so happy that it's different now. It's still tough, but there's a lot more opportunity. And my focus now is politically almost because people are trying to make us go backwards. And it's a dangerous time. Mm-hmm.
So my next question, it ties into exactly what you mentioned. Obviously, in the industry, women of color at the time, for that film to have, like you said, there was backlash that was faced. There was a white director. Other people didn't even want it. People were having these false perceptions of Black images from the film in the early 80s. But now, 35 years from now, I know that women of color in particular, we are more visible in media, like you mentioned, Taraji P. Henson, Gabrielle Union, who you've also worked with. There are more women of color, Viola Davis, but I know in their conversations, they still talk about some of the battles that they have to face even now. And you've been in this game for such a long time. So from your perspective, as an actress, as a creator all this time, what have you noticed have been the differences from that time to now? Because I know, like you said, there are more opportunities, but I know there's still some challenges too. So what have you noticed has been like the biggest difference from when
the most visual difference for me is when I step in the makeup trailer and I see people of color who are going to be dealing with my can't you, don't you hair, and they're going to be dealing with my makeup and have the right colors. I mean, we had to do our own makeup back in the day because if you look at the film credits, it was, I think, a man who did all the movie makeup. He didn't do it himself, but his products were what they used. And it was Tuttle and Ben Nye. And if they put their makeup on us, honey, we'd be looking all gray. And I mean, so we had to find our own makeup. We had to bring our own wigs. They didn't know how to deal with our hair. And they wouldn't let our people who could do what needed to be done, they wouldn't let them in the union so that they could do the film and help us. And they weren't doing their research. They knew we were coming on the set. They wouldn't get the makeup and hair people. They weren't doing their research on how to do us. It was up to us. And the laws at that time, I don't know if they've changed, but if you got your cosmetology license and whatever the hair license is, when you go in to get that license, you have to be able to do white hair, not black hair. Now, how fair is that? But Black people, they would go in to get the license, and they got to do everybody.
Right.
You know? So I'm hoping that has changed. But to walk on a set and not be scared, Lord, what they're going to do to me today. I mean, and even when I encounter a makeup artist who isn't on top of it for what I need, at least I have my makeup bag with me and I can help the little child, because it's me that people are going to be looking at on camera. And since I know I've worked enough now with Black makeup artists who have shared things with me, do this and do that and get this brand and get that. So even today I've done my makeup. Now it's not professional because you can't compete with a professional now, but you can learn enough tricks to make yourself presentable, which I hope I've done today.
Right. Oh yeah. Like I said, you look beautiful. We definitely talked about it off camera, but you look great. So, like I said, you have such an extensive career. You've worked with so many legends, like you've already mentioned a few, but to rename some of them again, Steven Spielberg, Woody, Oprah Winfrey, Richard Pryor, Danny Glover. What has been some of your most memorable experiences and relationships that you formed in your history? And even if I start naming some of the people you've worked with recently, like Gabrielle, you have your project.
Oh, well, I think that I'll always remember Richard Pryor. He was funny and sensitive and a very giving actor. And he made me stretch because he didn't go by the script dialogue, and you just had to hang in there with him. And so he made me appreciate my training in improvisational theater. It teaches you to be the character and just go with it. And that's what you had to do with him. And it was so funny. I'm grateful for my recent film, which was Block Party. I got to do some comedy because that's first comedy I've had the opportunity to do in, probably in 45 years. That because I got stuck in drama. And if you don't have control of your work, of what you're going to do, you just do the best you can with what's offered. But I'm hoping that the future will allow me to do more comedy, as well as trying to move into producing. I'm co-producing a little film that's coming out, we hope, within the next year. We're trying to raise the money for it now. It's written and directed by Robert Poole. And I just got I was one of the executive producers on Block Party. So because of being older, we don't get as many roles as the younger actresses. When you look at these films, the women are young, what I used to be, right? So rather than waiting for the phone to ring, I'm trying to get involved with other things. But hopefully this summer, I'll be able to stretch back into my political activist role, because I want to go to Atlanta and encourage people, the young people, to get out there and vote. This is a very important election, these midterm type elections, because they're the votes now go for who's going to be your congressman, who's going to be your senator, who's going to be your governor. They're going to be setting what the tone of what's going to be worked on for your benefit, particularly people of color, because we've got opposition coming at us that wants to take us back, 80 years?
Right.
It's a lot of hate, a lot of mean-spirited stuff, and we've got to fight that with the vote. I want people to know, don't get discouraged by all the rhetoric out there. They want you to be discouraged and not vote. You gotta get out there. If they take water from you, you can't take water to a line or whatever it is, all this stupid stuff. Hey, our forefathers, our ancestors, they were out there enslaved, working in those fields, probably without any water. Whatever they endured, I know we can endure. We have to prove that you will not take us back.
Yes, I agree with you. And I commend you for doing that, because that's so important to just be a voice in this world, especially when you have the power, because you're a recognizable person, people respect you. And some people are in the same position as you, and they're like, well, it's not important to me, or I'm not going to be out there. So I definitely commend you for that. And that's very important.
Every vote counts. Every vote counts. So I admire Stacey Abrams so much. So I'm hoping that I can be involved with her ground roots people. And just if they're knocking on doors, I'll do the same for her that I did for President Obama. I'll knock on those doors, honey.
Awesome. I definitely love that. One question I do want to ask you too is, like I said, you've been around for a long time. You've been in television.
A long time. Lord have mercy, longer than I. Oh boy. Sometimes even in this house, the workman was here repairing something. He said, how long have you been in this house? And can you believe 51 years? What a blessing.
Wow. What is your key to longevity? Because, like I said, from my generation, we definitely recognize you, when we see you in Being Mary Jane, or see you on BET's Block Party, or see you in Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. What has been your key to longevity? Just even when I was looking through your filmography, just some of the old iconic TV shows that you were. My God, I didn't realize she was on some of these. So what has been like your key to longevity in your career?
Well, you might not recognize it. Sometimes I woke up one night, I'd fallen asleep on the couch, and my voice on television awakened me. And I looked up, and it was something I did. It was a science fiction film. And I looked at my waist. I said, oh my God, that was when I had a 23-inch waist. And I just started crying. I said, oh my God, I used to have a waist that looked like that. So, the years pass. I mean, as a kid, Christmas never came as quickly as it does now. It seems like every time I look up, a month has gone by. For me, I just want to make sure that whatever years I have left and blessed to be healthy, I want to make a contribution, whatever that is. I want to go away having helped to make things different and having maybe inspired somebody to do better. Reach your highest good, because that's what God wanted us to do.
Right.
What I want to begin to also work on while I'm fighting to protect the rights of women and the rollbacks to the rights that we've earned over the years is like, we also need to start focusing on the document, the Constitution and how it's created, and those amendments and the things that lie within the document that stop us from having the rights that were afforded to us at birth. Begin to address the language. How can we strike that out instead of every 15 years or every 20 years? These things continue to come up, and depending upon who is appointed to these seats or who is elected to office, we have to worry about the attacks on women, attacks on people because of their ethnicity or their race. It's really problematic because the foundational document, the original document, allows these exclusions to happen.
You're totally right. So I know you mentioned a lot just from the physical aspect too, and how we can heal with our bodies, as part of your longevity. But from the mental aspect, I do talk about self-love a lot on my show. Self-love, in my opinion, is the fuel on how we can be successful, how we can navigate our day, how we can manifest, how we can be who we are. So from your perspective, because I do tie in self-love too, just on how we take care of our mental health, how do you define self-love, love? And then secondly, what are some additional things that you may do to cater, to your mental health?
Okay, for how do I define self-love? Okay. Well, for me, sometimes, I got to stop feeling guilty because I take time out to do something for me when I know somebody else needs something, but I'm doing something for me in lieu of doing something for them. And sometimes I think it's a healthy selfishness to take care of yourself, because if you're down, then how can you help someone else? So it's a thing back to balance in my life that I have to continue to struggle with and work with, because we as women, we're kind of naturally caregivers. We're the one that takes care of the birth of the child and the nursing, and that's just in us. So when you're struggling with self-care and trying to earn a living and putting food on the table and looking out for your children, looking out for your husband, looking out for your home, it's a challenge. And so even me, it's like I said, I don't know, 3 years ago, I'm going to go and get a professional massage once a month. If you wouldn't massage me, I still have to work on that. And when I get a massage, oh my God, it just feels so good. And I'm saying, why have I not done this? It's not always about the money. It's about me making the time to do it. And it's almost like if you were going to work out every day, the hardest part about working out is starting to do it.
Yeah.
Once you get into it, you can do it, and you can't make up for all the days you miss. Only thing you can do to make up for those days is to try to be more consistent. And so I can't be a hypocrite and tell you that I'm doing it right. It's still a struggle for me. Oh, yeah. But whenever I do it, like today, I had another interview. So instead of going and doing the steps, I have 165 steps in my neighborhood, and these hills, they're like fire escapes. Yeah. But it's my own stepmaster, you might say. And I didn't do it today, and I should have. What did I do instead? Well, I wiped up the kitchen and swept the floor, because I can't stand my kitchen. I'm just a fanatic on a clean kitchen. So there was stuff on the floor from last night from my husband, bless his heart, acting like a 5-year-old. And we can't have ants at this time of the year. I mean, they are just, you can't leave a crumb anywhere. Those little searchers, they find it. And next thing you know, it's a whole, good grief. So I was doing that. And before I knew it, it was time to get ready for the other interview. And I should have left that. Why didn't I leave that, Margaret, and go do my walk? Because I can't make up for the fact that I didn't do that today. I just have to make sure that I do it and be consistent. And I feel so much better when I do it. Now, when I was 9 months pregnant, I was 7 months pregnant, because I've been in this house 51 years. And I could do those steps without stopping. Now I have to stop for I have to do about 4 stops for 20 seconds. And I say, okay, that's okay, Margaret, but you're doing it. Don't stop doing it. Right. Because like I said, I feel so much better after I have them. My heart is pounding. It was a good workout for your heart. So we know that we don't have to eat a lot of salt. our ancestors ate a lot of salt because they didn't have refrigeration. They had to salt everything so that it would last.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
was their refrigeration.
Exactly.
So we know it's high blood pressure in our among our people. High blood pressure, diabetes. It's the same with diabetes is rampant with Latina culture. They eat a lot of tortillas, they eat a lot of rice. This is food. Notice I'm not saying desserts. This is food that creates salt once it's consumed in your body. And not salt, but sugar.
Right.
All that pasta, so, and then I wondered I said, well, why don't the Italians have a lot of these problems? They eat a lot of bread, they're eating a lot of pasta, but what I understand, their stuff isn't processed the same as ours. It's healthier.
Wow. And that's definitely interesting. And I'm glad you mentioned just the minor thing about refrigeration, because I just think sometimes we have to go back to figure out why our culture has certain issues, and that's true. Like there was no refrigeration, so they had to salt it. So I just think sometimes
salted everything down. Yeah,
right.
We don't have to do that.
Right. Like you
and
said,
my husband, I get on him because before he even tastes the food, he'll use salt, and I say, stop that, taste it first. So now he loves spicy food. He loves tasty and spicy, not only hot but just tasty. And he uses a lot of spices, and I'll taste it and I say, oh my God. You have to realize that every time you put a different seasoning on, you got to look at the salt content, monosodium.
Yeah.
If you put a bunch of seasonings on that has that, then your food's going to be salty.
Right, exactly. So going back to your career and your experience, like I said, you have, in addition to just your wealth of knowledge, your spirit, you also just have like a lot of experience. What information or advice would you have for women of color, young women of color, aspiring actresses underneath you who are trying to break into this industry, or, they may find situations where they may have some downtime where they're not sure if this career is right for them, or they may be struggling with low self-esteem or imposter syndrome or just anything like that. What advice would you have for younger aspiring actresses, women of color?
Well, for any actor, I mean, first of all, I always say it better be your passion, because, and I say too, you got to be kind of a masochist too, because you got to put up with a lot of rejection, and some people are really rude, and so you've got to know that that's really what you want, and then you've got to know your craft. Everybody that's, to me, if you look at the Viola Davises and the people who have really survived and made an impact in this business with their talent, they had training. They studied, and they've done a lot of stage. And stage is just incredible experience. And you got to be able to support yourself while you're doing all this. You got to, who's paying the rent? Who's going to feed you? It's hard. It's very, very difficult. But if it's your passion, you're going to find a way to do it. And don't get into, and when I say passion, you're not getting into it because you want to make a lot of money, you want to be a star. Honey, that doesn't always happen. For most, it does not. You can get excited, maybe you get a couple of roles, but to really make it a living at it, I never made a living at it all these years. There was a long time that I wasn't working. And I went with LA Unified School District. I had a master's in psychology, so I used it. And prior to that, I had been teaching school before I started as pursuing acting.
Wow.
So I had a way of earning a living. I had a way of supporting myself, getting into the business by I had to pay for my acting lessons, and I took dance classes, and I mean, all the pictures at that time, we had to like have these 8x10 photos and resumes, and all of that was expensive. And answering services, I mean, the answering service that I had back in there was like probably the size of our laptops, and it cost me $400. That was a lot of money when I was only making $16 a day net as a teacher. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Of course, gas was 33 cents a gallon at that time.
Right.
But it's all relative. But I'm saying, if you're just starting out, you got to know your craft.
Yeah.
You got to know your craft. And I always say to people, because I've done some real estate, they always say, where should I buy? And your agent is always going to say, location, location, location. You have to choose the right location. But with acting, I say, know your craft, know your craft, know your craft.
Wow.
Because that's what's going to give you longevity. Too many people now want to get into business, like I said, for the money or the fame. They don't want to learn the process of how to become an actor. How would you like somebody operating on you who cheated on all their medical tests, or who went through medical school? They didn't have to know anything, but their father or their parents had a lot of money for that university or medical school, so they just passed them through. Do you want them to operate on you?
Right.
Why would you expect to be able to earn a living in acting if you never had proper training?
Right.
So, and I shared this story, I've shared it before. I've had acting coaches telling me that they don't want to teach anymore because the students they're getting just want to teach. Hey, teach me how to get a series. And my masseuse at one time said, I hate teaching anymore because young people just want to know, well, how do I get the Beverly Hills clients, the rich clients? You have to learn your craft.
Right.
Learn it. And maybe, when I started out, I was doing free theater, community theater. I wasn't getting paid, but I was supporting myself with the teaching. Mm-hmm. But I was pursuing another career by working for nothing. So if you have to do internships, if you have to do little plays that you don't get paid for, that's your experience.
Right.
So how do I keep myself sane? Mm-hmm. Every level of the business seems to have different challenges. Mm-hmm. First, your level, trying to get in, trying to get a job, trying to be seen, try to get an agent, all of that. Then once you get something and get your career going, there's another level of challenges, different. And after Color Purple, it was challenging for me and very disheartening to not even be able to get a job after Color Purple. I said, oh, Lord, please, God, show me a way. Yeah. And my way to survive was the college lecture circuit, that I was able to go to the different colleges and share my experiences, my life experiences that hopefully, and it turned out that they could relate to, and it inspired young people. So that was another way of earning a living for me. So it ain't all peaches and cream. Interviews can make it seem that way, but honey, there's a lot of SHIT in this business. It's a lot of it. You better have your mind together, your self-confidence together, and have faith in God and yourself. because I know God carried me through a lot of stuff, a lot. My faith carried me through.
Have you ever considered writing an autobiography?
I should. People have asked me about that. I really should, because there so many things come at us that we're not even expecting. I mean, and that's just life. Yeah. But there's a uniqueness to our business also. I mean, I know that when Will Smith had his unfortunate experience on camera, the Academy Awards, there's a lot behind that. Yeah. That we, it's like we're so quick to make judgment of people. Right. And I'm not taking a side either way. I'm just saying that stop and think, what was going on? What preceded before that? What is it all that we don't know? Right. And that's my disappointment with social media. Everybody wants to give their point. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know what the facts are. You're just looking at the book's cover. You don't even know what's behind that book. What is the first sentence in that paragraph? You don't know. But you got all, and the people who are the most ignorant have the loudest voices. Yes.
Hi, it's your girl, Danny Parks. Listen, if you are having any type of suicidal thoughts, if you're having any type of mental health crisis, I want you to dial the new suicide hotline, 988. That's right. It's only 3 numbers and it's 988. You can call this or text it to be connected to a crisis counselor where they can help you through your situation in that moment. Once again, that number is 988 and that's it. All right. I'll see y'all later.
Yes. Always. You're right. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, I've had a lot of thoughts on that whole slap incident. And I agree. I also feel like social media tends to put celebrities in like a Christ-like image where they're not allowed to make a mistake, where they're human like everyone else, and I don't know. It kind of bothers me how social media are just people who are sitting on the outside. Like you said, they lack empathy. They lack grace because they don't know, he's a person like everybody else, and that's not condoning the action, but people aren't perfect at the end of the day. But I just think some glorify some.
And why be so quick to be mean-spirited? Why? Right. But I'm hoping that people will grow up and have a little more love for each other. That's Michael Jackson used to always talk about love, and it really is. I mean, we have to care more about each other. And I think that it begins with caring for yourself. If you like yourself and love yourself, it's going to be easier to love someone else. The most unhappy people are the ones that are mean to someone else.
Right. I agree. This has been an amazing conversation. Like I said, like you are an icon. Before we do anything, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with? Any gems, jewels? Because you've given so much already in this conversation.
Thank you. What would I say? Here I am, a grandma, and I feel like I have so many more challenges ahead of me. Like I said, I'm struggling on balance and taking care of myself each day. I just think if women just take time out, stay close to God, and find little ways to appreciate each day, even though stuff is coming at you. I know it's hard because I've had those days. I've had those days. I remember looking in the trash can and wondering, who put all these wine bottles in my trash can? Why what? And then thinking, God, Margaret, those are your bottles. You've been trying to drink yourself to sleep every night. That's how worried I was about what was going on in my life. I couldn't buy a job. And every job that I got, it still didn't pay for my expenses. And I was a mother. I had to raise my daughter. And thank God I had a daughter, because I had to get her to school every day. And that got me out of bed. Not because I wanted to for myself. I had to do it for her. So I think we need to reach out for maybe support system so that we don't keep it all in ourselves, because other people are experiencing the same thing. And have girlfriends that are supportive, not negative. But my daughter was kind of like in some kind of a group that I thought was really good. She has women friends that they talk about things and laugh together. And maybe that's could be a start for us as women, because we're tough.
Yeah.
We're tough on ourselves too. And we have a lot of smarts. But I don't think we have the chutzpah that other people may have. We may hold ourselves back, not believing in ourselves that we can do things. But there's stuff out there now that we can do we didn't have the opportunities to do back in the day. So I would say align yourself with some kind of a mentor and support group to help you soar, because that's what God wants us to do, to be the best we can be and be happy.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much. That is beautiful. And I just appreciate how not only have you given so much information and transparency about the industry, but you also have a great perspective on how we really can love ourselves. And like you said, live in God's image, his promises for us, so that we can live our best lives. And I really do appreciate you sharing that with us so much. Can you tell us future projects that you have coming up that we should look out for? I know the block party.
Yeah, block party, I'm hoping that that's going, because it's about Juneteenth, our national holiday that it has become. I'm hoping that it'll show every year, because it is a family film and it's funny. But I'm trying to move into producing. As I mentioned earlier, Block Party, I was made one of the executive producers in the film that will be coming out hopefully next year. I'm a co-producer, and I'll talk to you about that later. But right now, what's on my mind is political. We got to do something about what's happening politically, and I want everybody to get out there and just do whatever you can, but be sure to vote.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Like I said, you're beautiful, and just thank you for everything that you've contributed just to represent us, and all the work that you've done. Like I said, you're a very iconic person, and I'm just honored that I've had a chance to be able to give you your flowers. We have lost so many legends, so I'm very proud that I was able to give you your flowers, and just thank you for everything that you've done to contribute to this industry.
Well, thank you. I'm going to smell your flowers today. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Take care and be safe.
Okay, same to you. Monkey paws, stay away from that one.
Yes. COVID monkey paws.
Okay, always something. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
That must have did this beat.